Lipscomb University and Lenny Acuff recruiting him. Big shout out to Lenny, who got a big win at the buzzer against their rivals from across the street, literally. Belmont. It was his first win over Belmont, I believe, at Lipscomb University. So outstanding job by Coach Acuff, one of the great friends to our show, and really our radio station for many years. Our sister station, ESPN 97.7 The Zone, has been the hub and, of course, the home of UAH basketball. We know what Coach Acuff did here for 20-plus seasons, the all-time winningest coach in the history. I believe it was 22 years of UAH Charger basketball and of the Gulf South Conference, winningest coach in the GSC. Turned out an NBA player in Josh Majette, so many pros, the Smith brothers, built such a special culture here that John Schulman's been able to continue so that the torch was passed as Coach Acuff got finally his shot at Division I coaching at Lipscomb, and we've been closely following him in Nashville, and we're just so happy for him that they were able to get a huge win. They won at Dayton last year in the pre-conference. This time, though, beating Belmont, which means so much. It's a huge rivalry in the city of Nashville. Belmont, a very good program that has been a frequent one in the NCAA tournament with Rick Byrd there. No doubt about it. Rick Byrd was a Hall of Fame coach at Belmont and did a great job there. But Coach Acuff getting a big win over Belmont, and we wanted to pay homage to that. His son Will, who we've had on Talking Ball, he's in his first year as a head coach after being a GA for Lenny at Lipscomb, but he's now in his first year as the Randolph Raiders head basketball coach. He's going to do great things with that program. His first game last night, and let's understand something: the majority of his varsity, and Randolph is a smaller school; they're a 4A school. The majority of his players are on this Randolph football team that I've had the pleasure and honor of calling the color with Austin Coletti doing the play-by-play during this historic playoff run. This best year in school history for Randolph. As you can see the helmet right here as you're watching, hopefully on YouTube and on our stream. But Randolph is 10-2, and they're headed to the state quarterfinals for the first time in history. And they will take on Cherokee County, on Friday. Austin Coletti and I will be on the call at Sports Med Field at 7 o'clock. And just really excited for that opportunity. But the majority of his varsity is still playing football. And so that was their first game last night. They played Madison County and won that game dramatically with a three-pointer at the buzzer with half a second to go. They win it 53-52. Lenny Acuff in attendance for his son's first official varsity game. Will Acuff gets the win. What a job, and what a moment for him in his young career as a head coach on the high school level. And how neat to have Lenny Acuff watching it live, coming to see his son coach, and certainly he's following in his father's footsteps. We're very excited for his opportunity. I think we were his first extended radio interview after he took the job. So very excited for Will, and wanted to pay respect to him and the Randolph Raiders for getting that big win, and of course to his father, the great Lenny Acuff, for what he's doing over at Lipscomb basketball, building this program and trying to hopefully one day, that's the dream, man, to see Coach Lenny Acuff's squad win their conference tournament, get that automatic bid, and when the Field of 68 is announced, that the Lipscomb Bison are part of it, and then he gets into the NCAA tournament where he's got a chance to make some real headway and headlines. He went to the Elite Eight multiple times and played for national championships, and competed for them at UAH, and of course won the Gulf South Conference many times over, both regular season and tournament. He did such a remarkable job at UAH in his Hall of Fame career, and now is trying to do the same thing with the Lipscomb Bison. So it was great to see him, though, back in town supporting his son Will, and Will is trying to build the Randolph Raiders basketball program into one of the best small school basketball programs in the state. He's got a lot of youth, a lot of energy, and I think he's going to do a really, really fine job over there off Garth Road. It's been great getting to know him a little bit better. Of course, I covered him as a player, but it's hard to believe now He's really only about 25 years old, very young. But as I've joked with people, he sounds like he's 35. He's been around the game a long time, and I think he's going to have a bright, bright future in coaching. No doubt about that. But congratulations to Will Acuff on that 53-52 win. Last night, Huntsville gets a big win, 56-22 over the Hazel Green Trojans. But as we told you, you heard Coach Jeremy Crutcher yesterday, this is a rebuilding team, very athletic team. I was impressed with some of the speed and athleticism of Hazel Green last night. I think they're going to get much, much better by February as the year goes on. And it's a true credit to the Huntsville Crimson Panthers. And they were without one of their key cogs last night in Braden Rivers, the sophomore. He was not playing, but certainly Caleb Harrison. We talked about him, Division I prospect. We talked about the senior leader, Jamari Man Arnold. They both played well with 17. And Huntsville struggled shooting, but rebounding, being disruptive, being really good defensively. Defense travels. Certainly this game was at home, but Huntsville played very well. They're 4-0 for the first time since 2011. Congratulations to the Crimson Panthers as they march on. And now they'll have a huge challenge coming up this weekend as they are headed to the Spartan Turkey Jam, the annual Thanksgiving tournament put on by Tyler Davis and those fine folks over at Mountain Brook. And Huntsville High will take on Benjamin Russell. They will take on those guys at 4:30 on Saturday afternoon, late afternoon. So that will be the first round matchup for Huntsville High. If they win that game, really good chance they take on Sandy Creek, which is the alma mater of one Jabari Smith, who had such an immense impact at Auburn last year, helped them win a regular season SEC championship, and then have a heck of a season for Bruce Pearl. Now, they had a disappointing end in the second round of the NCAA tournament to Jim Larinaga in Miami, but still a really fine regular season. Walker Kessler was great for them before moving on to the NBA, and Auburn, they were number one in the country at one time last year, so that was a great opportunity for them. But Auburn did get a big win last night. They took on the Winthrop Eagles, at home, and we talked about that a little bit on Talking Ball this morning. Jonai Broom had probably his best game in an Auburn uniform, and Auburn got the big win in Neville Arena, and that was big for the Tigers. They've got some bigger tests coming up down the road, but 89-65, Auburn gets the win. As we said, Jonai Broom only in 20 minutes he had a double-double, 18 and 13, no doubt. And then of course, Willie Green Jr. and Wendell Green Jr., I should say. Wendell Green Jr., who I had a chance to talk to at SEC Media Days, he continues to shoot well. 4 threes for him last night, 6 of 10 overall, 16 points, had 5 assists as he continues to take over point guard duties. And then the freshman who Auburn flipped from LSU, and he's a Frenchman, but Johan Traore, he was good last night. He didn't start, but he gave him 16 minutes. Did hit a 3, did the big man, but 11 points for him, along with 3 rebounds. And they've been getting really good minutes off the bench, too, from Dylan Cardwell, and did again last night. He was super efficient. 3 of 3 from the floor, 6 points, 6 boards. So it was a balanced score sheet for Auburn, no doubt about it. And, of course, Alan Flanagan continues to get healthy and come back. He gave him 19 minutes, gave him 6 points. So this is an Auburn team that's going to get a lot better, I think, as the year goes on. And I don't know if it's going to be a great shooting team, but with Traore and Jonai Broom, they're definitely going to have some size. And so this is going to be a dangerous Auburn team going forward. And then Alabama got their first true road win. Brandon Miller with 19 points, outstanding player. Didn't shoot it well. The Alabama team in its entirety did not, but Alabama did rebound it really well. Had their second game in 3 outings with 60-plus rebounds, which is pretty stunning when you think about it. Alabama really hitting the glass hard and doing a great job. They end up with 25 offensive rebounds, 38 defensive boards, 63 overall, and they did a really nice job of rebounding the basketball, and they did make 10 threes. So even though they struggled shooting it, they still went 10 of 35, which is nearly 30%. That's respectable shooting the three. Now they got to shoot it better from 2-point range, but again, they hit the glass hard. And Brandon Miller led the way with his 19 points. Noah Clowney had 15 rebounds to go along with 8. And then, of course, 9 points from Mark Sears, the transfer. He, of course, prepped at Muscle Shoals High School. And really, Alabama only with one scorer, and that's Brandon Miller in double figures. But Noah Gurley gave them 8, including a couple of big threes in the first half. So the senior giving them some stability and experience, as we said. And so also, Namari Burnett got a little more time. But the big key as far as getting time, he only played 4 minutes, but it was the debut for Javon Quinterly from the University of Alabama. Only 8 months removed from ACL surgery, or a torn ACL that he suffered in that first-round playoff loss in the NCAA tournament. Alabama, a 6 seed, lost to 11 seed Notre Dame, but they've got Javon Quinterly back, and they should continue to work him into the lineup, no doubt about it. But Alabama, 65-55 winners. They are 3-0, and they will be hosting Jacksonville State at 8 o'clock Central Time on SEC Network on Friday inside Coleman Coliseum. So we will have that on ESPN 97.7 The Zone. So we're going to be fully loaded at 97.7 The Zone on Friday. We're going to have Havoc Hockey. We're going to have Alabama basketball. Certainly we're going to have Randolph football. Randolph will be taking on Cherokee County. So you need to download the ESPN 97.7 The Zone app. If you have not, it's your Google store, it's your Apple store, because, again, we're going to have a lot going on. We're going to have another edition of the North Alabama High School Football Scoreboard Show presented by Woody Anderson Ford. And Scott Tyson will, of course, start the scoreboard show right after the Randolph game, which will be on the main feed. And right now, don't forget to download the Blitz Sports Radio app so you can listen to this show each and every morning, which is from 9 to 10 a.m. It's quality recruiting conversation with D Squared. I'm Drew DeArmond. And also, don't forget the Bandyman Bailey Lowry, Captain Cool John Abraham. They will bring you the afternoon blitz. They featured Wes Rucker of 24/7 Sports yesterday, and he talked some Tennessee. So they have a great program from 2 to 4 each Monday through Friday. And don't forget our entire lineup, all live programming on 97.7 The Zone. Scott Tyson and I, 7 to 9 a.m. Will bring you Talking Ball. 9 to 10, Greeny from ESPN Radio, the national perspective. And then from 10 to noon, the Chuck Oliver Show. One of the best college football shows there is in the business. 12 to 2, the lunchtime extravaganza with Tom Abraham and Chad Guathney on ESPN 97.7 The Zone. And then from 2 to 5, Paul Feinbaum. 5 to 7, Stephen West on The Drive. And then the last hour of Feinbaum replayed from 7 to 8. So we are the kings of local programming. So continue to support us. And in a few minutes, we're going to talk Ole Miss football recruiting and Ole Miss football with Brad Logan. He's part of 24/7 Sports, works with David Johnson, and also part of the Believe Network. I was part of his podcast last week. We're going to ask him bluntly about Lane Kiffin. We talked to Josh Pate on Talking Ball this morning on 97.7 The Zone. He thinks right now that Lane Kiffin is the favorite in this, coaching search for Auburn. But as he cautioned, that could be a smokescreen for another candidate. That Jimmy Sexton's the king of this. He gets his clients paid. There's no doubt about it. Lane got a big raise last year to over $7.5 million a year. Could he get another raise from Ole Miss, or is there another school involved? We will see. There's no doubt about that. So, or even the NFL for Lane Kiffin. So certainly I think Auburn has high interest in him due to his, success at Ole Miss the last couple of years. Plus, he's a Nick Saban protege who knows how to win. So I don't know that he was of high interest to Auburn 2 years ago when they hired Brian Harsin. I think he was interested in the Auburn job, but I don't think the president of Auburn University at the time was interested in him. But I think that, there's very high interest on Auburn's side right now. Lane Kiffin has been receptive to it, but we'll see if he takes the plunge there. And we'll talk about Ole Miss recruiting because they had a lot of talent in town for that game in Oxford against Alabama, and they want to finish the season strong. I can't remember the last time. I'm not sure it's ever happened that Ole Miss has had 10 wins for consecutive seasons. They got an outstanding shot at doing that. And, of course, Lane wants to win his third straight Egg Bowl. This time I believe it would be in Starkville against Mississippi State. And really, Mike Leach needs to get that game, because Mississippi State's been a little bit of a disappointment this year at 6-4, but they could make their season by going ahead and knocking off the Rebels. So we will certainly ask Brad Logan about that, and we appreciate him for joining us. But again, we will continue to monitor the Ole Miss recruiting. And then I wanted to give a shout-out to Frankie Sullivan, too, to pivot back to high school basketball. What a win for his program. Of course, as you know, they made a Cinderella run last year, got hot at the right time, played their best basketball, when they absolutely had to have it. And they went on to play for the 7A state championship against Enterprise. Lost a heartbreaking close game, but Frankie Sullivan's squad upset Oak Mountain over at the regionals at Wallace State, the defending 7A champions, and they made a deep run to nearly bring back a blue trophy to their community, bringing back the red one as the runner-up in 7A. But they host the Grissom Tigers under Jack Doss last night. Some have Grissom is number 1 in the state. I think James Clemens is considered a top 5 or 6 team, even with Simon Walker leaving the program and transferring into Huntsville and to Huntsville High. Still, Frankie Sullivan's team very dangerous, and they take out Grissom at home last night, 49-47. So wanted to give a shout out to Frankie Sullivan and all those guys over there for winning that game. That's a huge win for the Jets early in the season to gain confidence against one of the best rosters in the state of Alabama, and a lot of experience in that top 5 or 6 for the Grissom Tigers. So huge shout out to the James Clemens Jets getting that home win, 49-47 over the Grissom Tigers, and that's a big win for them early, and just an outstanding job. And watching Tim Miller's squad last night, they've won 60-plus games in a row, 5 straight state championships, more of the same. They've got a great team, no doubt about that, over at Hazel Green High School. The girls, the ladies, soundly defeat the Huntsville Crimson Panthers, who came in undefeated under Jeff Smith. So it was a really good win for Hazel Green's ladies, and wanted to give them a shout-out, too, because they have a target on their back every day and continue to win at a very, very high level. But I'll tell you what, we need to go on a break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Brad Logan, and we're going to talk some Ole Miss football recruiting and Rebel football. The future of Lane Kiffin, what is it? Will he stay at Ole Miss? Will he go? What seems to be the temperature over there in Oxford, and how is recruiting looking? Because we know that Lane's the portal king. He added more pieces from the transfer portal than any, and has really had a lot of success with it, as you've seen with Jackson Dart and the way he's played, and, of course, Zach Evans, even though he got knocked out of the Alabama game. But he's also signed Quinshon Judkins out of the high school ranks from Pike Road in Alabama, and he is maybe the best freshman running back in college football. And we'll talk Rebels with Brad Logan up next. Stay with us.
The Blitz has been called.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time, or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is "We show up." Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner at University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Madison Academy football. Stop into the University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including the all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com to view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see you in a Kia. Go Mustangs!
At Bryant Bank, we believe your goals are worth chasing, and every step along the way is worth celebrating. From your hopes for the future to the challenges that keep you up at night, we're here for you. Bryant Bankers put care into action to help you live legendary by stepping up when you need us most and doing what's right, even when no one is watching. Come experience a local bank whose people greet you by name and treat you like family. Bryant Bank, member FDIC.
For college football fans, Saturday in the fall means game day. But now passionate fans everywhere can experience game day every day at the new College Football Hall of Fame and Chick-fil-A Fan Experience, now open in downtown Atlanta. The College Football Hall of Fame features over 30,000 square feet of interactive exhibits, putting fans closer to the game than ever before, including a 3-story helmet wall displaying every college football team helmet, kick field goals on a 45-yard long indoor football field, sing your favorite team's fight song in a karaoke challenge, and have your face painted digitally through one of the many interactive exhibits. Whether you're a die-hard college football fan or a mom looking for a fun family outing, you'll find it all at the College Football Hall of Fame and Chick-fil-A Fan Experience. Get your tickets today by calling 404-880-4800 or visiting cfbhall.com.
The safety oath. Repeat after me. I will safely bring safety to my facility and keep it safe. I will safely keep my people safe. I will put safety first in everything I do, and I will safely do so with Grainger. When you think safety, think Grainger. Grainger's got over 100,000 safety products to help keep our facility safe and our people safer. When it comes to safety, Grainger's got your back. Call clickgrainger.com/safety or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. I'm D Squared, Drew DeArmond, and we're about to be joined in a couple of minutes by our guest who's going to talk some Ole Miss with us. We're going to talk Ole Miss recruiting. We're going to talk Lane Kiffin and this coaching search because, again, until he says no, we will not, it's going to be the biggest story in this state with Lane Kiffin, and of course the mutual interest there seems to be with Auburn. Certainly it would be a blow to the Rebels, who have become relevant quickly under Lane Kiffin in just his third season in Oxford, as he has done an outstanding job reviving that program and recruiting at a high level, mastering the transfer portal quickly, and getting Ole Miss back to relevancy and being a part of the Ole Miss and being part of the SEC Western Division race. So we're efforting to reach Brad Logan and get him on the program on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline to talk some Ole Miss. Hopefully we'll be able to talk some Ole Miss with him and get him on the show with us. But again, Lane Kiffin and the Rebels, they've done a remarkable job becoming a factor in the SEC West. They're not going to win the West, and they're not going to Atlanta again, but they've got a chance for back-to-back 10-win seasons. When he took the job, Matt Luke had a lot of trouble, keeping the program afloat after the fallout with Hugh Freeze. And so, again, it was a situation where he's been able to quickly install his offensive system. He made a star out of Matt Corral, who became one of the best quarterbacks in the Southeastern Conference. For the third straight year, they've really been the best rushing team in the SEC, and they've just done a remarkable job becoming a really good program in the Shark Tank in college football, because the SEC West is the best division in all of college football. There's no doubt about that. Lane Kiffin has become a hot name in coaching, no doubt about that. And he's going to be a name that everyone's going to look toward when high-profile jobs are open. From my intel last year, it seemed as though the Florida Gators and certainly the Miami Hurricanes might be some spots he might want to land, because he spent some time at FAU and he really liked it in the Sunshine State. But it didn't seem like there was a lot of interest there. But when you go to Ole Miss and when you do what he's done with them and turning them around so quickly, winning a bowl game his first year, and then going to the Sugar Bowl last year. They didn't win the game, but certainly the injury to Matt Corral had a lot to do with that. And so Luke Altmaier had to play the majority of that game against Baylor. That was disappointing for Ole Miss. But again, they've reloaded with the transfer portal. We talked about Quinshawn Judkins and how he certainly has been a force for the Rebels as a true freshman. And Lane Kiffin and his staff identified him and did a great job bringing him in. He was an under-the-radar kid who signed late. A lot of it has to do with the transfer portal. Some of these kids get discovered late. He was not recruited by Alabama and Auburn, and so heavily, and so they were able to pounce on him, and he's become a force for the Rebels. And then, of course, again, mastering the transfer portal, 20-plus additions. Now, all of them have not been outstanding, but the majority of them have been very solid. Jackson Dart, after a pretty good freshman year at USC, looks like he's got a long-term future with Ole Miss. Certainly Zach Evans, before the injuries, was running the football very well for them. Michael Trigg has been a little bit of a disappointment, the Southern Cal transfer at tight end. He has not been as big a factor in the offense, but again, I still think when you're talking about being 8-2 right now, you'll take that. This end of the schedule is not easy because now Ole Miss has to go to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and take on a Arkansas team that's been disappointing, but a lot of Arkansas's issues have come via the schedule. No doubt about it, and also via the schedule and because of how brutal it's been from start to finish. Arkansas's probably had the toughest schedule in the country. They've also there's been issues too with injuries defensively and with KJ Jefferson. He's been banged up. He missed the last game. If he plays, they may have upset LSU. So this is not going to be an easy end of the schedule for Ole Miss, playing Arkansas and then the Egg Bowl. We know the Egg Bowl is probably under the radar, one of the most intense rivalries in all of college football, and it's a big one for Mississippi State because Lane Kiffin, another thing that's endured him to this fan base quickly, has been going 2-0 in the Egg Bowl. And so he has done an outstanding job in that. He's going to be trying to go to 3-0 in the Egg Bowl coming up. Again, and that would be huge. And all this is doing, if he continues to win and puts back-to-back 10-win seasons on the table, it's going to up the ante for what Ole Miss has to do to try to keep him. And it's going to be a situation where Auburn is going to continue to be more aggressive. But I know we have him now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. He does an outstanding job. It was an honor to be on his podcast the other day, the Believe in Ole Miss podcast. As we said, he's also part of 24/7 Sports and Inside the Rebels, and that's Brad Logan, and he's joining us on the Recruiting Blitz this morning on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Brad, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Drew.
Hey, man, thank you for joining us. I know it's a busy time for you. The big topic is, we asked this of Josh Pate, one of your compatriots at 24/7 Sports, about Lane Kiffin. Still seems to be a lot of smoke coming from Auburn with Lane. What seems to be the temperature over in Oxford right now in that situation?
Well, I think if you look at this situation as it is you've got an Ole Miss job right now that, Lane Kiffin's job. He's had autonomy over the football program, and he's done an incredible job. You pointed all that out. And I think it's interesting, too, that Lane right now 2-0 in the Egg Bowls, and you pointed that out, too. You'll have an opportunity to go to 3-0, and that's going to prove to be an interesting scenario over in Starkville. Now they're without an athletic director, and if they're 0-3 against Ole Miss, that's going to be some very uneasy fans in Starkville. But you look at Lane Kiffin right now, Drew. I mean, this Auburn team, this Auburn program, it's historically a much better job. They have a lot more money than Ole Miss. They have a lot larger fan base. They have a lot better facilities. So I don't think anyone's debating that. I think the debate right now is this job going to be good for Lane Kiffin for the long haul. It's his end game to get the job in Tuscaloosa and succeed Nick Saban. Is it the end game to become the new head coach for the St. Louis Rams or someone in the NFL? He can get those jobs while he's at Oxford. He doesn't necessarily have to go to Auburn to get that. So that's kind of out the window. But you know what? Maybe this is the job he's always coveted in the Plains. It's a great job. It pays well. It puts players in the NFL. And obviously everything I stated before in regards to finances and facilities, it's a terrific job. But I have a question. Is that the job that Lane Kiffin wants? And, you know, I don't know the answer to that. So the things coming down the pipe is Jimmy Sexton's wielding his sword. And I think more than anything, we'll see Lane Kiffin get a nice bump in a pay raise, either going to Auburn or staying at Ole Miss, and we'll learn that probably within the next 2 weeks for sure.
Well, and Brad, I got to tell you too. I mean, that's been my question about the end game, because I know he has a lot of respect for Nick Saban. Nick Saban, I think, you know, everybody, he's not done by any stretch, but he may coach 3, 4, 5. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if he coaches 5 more seasons, but if he does, that's a while for Lane Kiffin to wait. But I do think Lane, in the back of his mind, believes he could be the next Alabama coach. Personally, I don't think that would happen, but again, the thing is, all these coaching searches are about timing, and if he takes the Auburn job, he's never going to be the Alabama coach. And I've said this, you brought up the Los Angeles Rams. He was the head coach very young with the at the time the Oakland Raiders. It didn't work out. We know his dad, Monty Kiffin, one of the great defensive coordinators in history. They have a lot of ties to the NFL. If Cliff Kingsbury gets the kind of look from Arizona that he has, Lane Kiffin certainly could. So I wouldn't be surprised if Lane's ultimate end game is either Alabama or the NFL, and he chooses not to go to Auburn. And again, with the SEC network now and all these programs having money, I know your colleague we've talked with on our show here, David Johnson, believes this. All these schools have money now, and certainly Ole Miss is throwing a lot of money into their program. I mean, heck, they bumped him up to $7.5 million or whatnot last year. So, and I know the NIL collective is going to be, and the autonomy is going to be a big part of it. Auburn certainly has a war chest built up. They're claiming they're going to give him the autonomy, but they haven't really done that to head coaches. So I'm going to be fascinated to see how Ole Miss's administration kind of reacts to all this. Personally, I still think he's going to flirt heavily but then not go and stay and then ultimately make a move later on. But this is going to be a really interesting next 2 weeks, and especially post-Egg Bowl, to see what happens.
You made a really good point there a moment ago, Drew, and I'd be interested to see, you and your audience would know much more than I would. So you're basically saying if Lane Kiffin took the job at Auburn, there's no way, regardless of how good he did at Auburn or any type of transition, there's no way he could become the head coach at Alabama.
That's correct. It's just politics. It's never happened before. I mean, Brad Bohannon was an assistant baseball coach at Auburn before getting the Auburn job. Harvey Glantz left Auburn to coach track and field at Alabama. But football-wise, I just don't see it happening. I mean, years ago, it's kind of worked out in the same exact fashion. Pat Dye ultimately wanted to succeed Coach Bryant. That timing didn't work out, and he went, as we know, from East Carolina and Wyoming to Auburn because that's the way that the search worked out. He couldn't get the Alabama job, but Coach Bryant he knew was near the end of his career, and so he took the Auburn job and elevated it. So now, again, Auburn may make him an offer that's that he can't refuse. You know, I've heard anywhere from the $10 to $11 million a year range. Personally, I think that's stretching it a little bit because Lane has only won a championship on the G5 level, but he has done remarkable things at Ole Miss, and what he's done, and this will be near the end of his third year, is remarkable. If he can win his third straight Egg Bowl, if he can beat Arkansas and get to 10 wins, he's going to have all the cards, and Ole Miss is going to have to really up the ante, or he could end up on the Plains. Yeah,
and quite frankly, I'll be honest, from the folks I've talked to inside the the administration, Ole Miss is going to do what it needs to financially. The problem, Drew, as we talked about it a moment ago, is the NIL portion of this. I mean, Auburn's NIL, quote-unquote, collective is much, much larger than Ole Miss's, and that could play into this. And that's just a fact of the matter. I mean, Auburn just has more finances than Ole Miss does in regards to NIL, facilities, I think foundation money. But I think Ole Miss can match a competitive package in regards to a salary, to recruiting pool. They're doing a ton with the Manning Center, the indoor there on campus. They essentially stopped a $300 million project on Vaught Hemingway Stadium just to focus on NIL. And that happened because, quite frankly, Lane went to Keith Carter, director of athletics, and asked him to do it. And when I say autonomy, Drew, I mean he has full control of that football facility, the football program. I mean, it's so much so that, imagine this, and I'd love for your audience to kind of run this through their mind. What if Lane Kiffin was the head coach and said, all right, for the first game, let's say they play San Jose State next year. I don't know who they play, Auburn. Let's say that they come out in orange helmets with orange jerseys and navy blue pants. How would that – because that's what he does at Ole Miss. He does whatever he wants with uniforms, with decisions, with play calling, and obviously with finances, he gets with Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin gets with Keith Carter and gets with Dr. Glenn Boyce, and they work through things. But that's his program, and I'm wondering if he has that autonomy at Auburn, because when I say full autonomy, I mean it. I mean he has an absolute full run of the program.
Yeah, and he's recruited well. I mean, he was a good recruiter at Tennessee and at USC, and then he's got the top player in the state of Mississippi, Sunterrain Perkins, in the 2023 class from Raleigh, Mississippi. Dante Moncrief, a family relative of his, he's got him committed. I know Alabama's come after him hard, but he's kept him. They've got Aiden Williams from Ridgeland, Mississippi, four-star wide receiver committed. They've got Jamarius Brown from Moss Point, the defensive lineman who I've been really impressed with on film. And he's basically mastered the portal, because as he's been – the one thing I will give Lane credit for is he's very transparent with you guys. And he said, look, we want to recruit high school talent, but we understand that we're not going to sign a ton of 5-stars here at Ole Miss, so we have to use every avenue we can. And right now, he's probably done the best job of anyone with the transfer portal, because this Ole Miss team has been completely transformed with 20-plus additions, and yet the results are nearly the same. 2 tough games left, Brad, but if he can get them back to a New Year's Six bowl potentially – maybe you can answer this question. I can't remember the last time Ole Miss won 10 games back to back.
Well, it happened, but you got to go all the way back to 19.
Johnny Vaught, right?
I think it's 50. Well, 58, 59. Yes.
That's what I thought.
They went back to back 10-win seasons. So we're quite a while ago. We were just a glimmer in our parents' eyes at that point.
Exactly.
It's been a while, and recruiting, I think what's interesting, Drew, is when Ole Miss left the Sugar Bowl back in January, they lost 100% of their rushing attack, including quarterback Matt Corral.
That's right.
Every running back was gone. They lost almost all of their receivers, and their defense was decimated either by the draft or transfers or graduation. And now you look back, and Ole Miss is 8-2 after losses to a really good Alabama team. And what we've learned now is a really good LSU team that may backdoor its way into the national championship conversation. So now you get an opportunity to go on the road against an Arkansas team that's not very good but always plays good at Fayetteville, and we've heard K.J. Jefferson circling the wagons and, whatever. Then you get Mississippi State coming in. So I think 10 wins is still absolutely on the table. But what Ole Miss has done under Kiffin has really been phenomenal. And recruiting, and I think we've seen this over the last really couple of months, Drew, Lane Kiffin is really going to focus on the portal, but he's done a phenomenal job the last couple of months really hitting high school recruiting really hard. And we're seeing a lot of that turn in the state of Alabama. We've seen, Ole Miss recruits Mobile really, really hard, the Spanish Fort area, Fairhope area. And so they're still doing really good recruiting in the South. They're recruiting the state of Mississippi really hard, and they're still doing a good job up in the Northeast. Chris Partridge, Randall Joyner. Ole Miss has gotten the number 1 player out of New Jersey the last 2 years. The first year, Taiwan Malone, defensive tackle, and then the last year it was, of course, Davis and Igbinosun, the starting right corner for Ole Miss. So the Rebels have really hit the high school recruiting as of late, something we didn't see in Lane Kiffin's first year for sure.
Yeah, and he outworked everybody for Quinshawn Judkins when he found him, and he's been as good as any freshman running back in the country. Certainly Alabama did not recruit the kid heavily, and Auburn, he's in Auburn's backyard, and it's one of the reasons Auburn is struggling. And then the one thing he'll also have going for him should he stay at Ole Miss or go to Auburn, but especially if he stays at Ole Miss, they've got a good football team coming back, and I think we're all anticipating this, Brad. It's probably been a huge topic on your Believe in Rebels podcast, is that what we're hearing is this transfer portal this year is going to be unlike any we've ever seen, because NIL is just really getting cranked up, but there's going to be a lot of kids, high-profile players in the portal that'll be up for grabs come early December.
Everyone, including you and I, Drew, are looking at College Station, Texas.
Everybody.
I don't know what happens, but I fully expect a mass exodus at College Station. And those are some major talents that are going to be looking at the portal. There's a scuttlebutt that let's just say there's already been scuttlebutt. A lot of players are going to be looking for the portal. And that's not just College Station. I mean, that's where everyone will be centered around the SEC. Of course, there'll be transfers all across the country. And the question is how do you balance that between what you want versus a high school player versus a player that's already solidified? And Lane Kiffin said this summer in a press conference. He said, why do we want to put all these resources in a freshman that we have no idea is going to be very good or not, when we can go find someone that's already proven on the 1AA level or the Division I level, and we know what they can do? Well, it's proven right now that Lane Kiffin has a pretty good recipe for how to blend in a team. We started the season off as a collective media group wondering if these transfers would mesh with the current talent and of course, mesh with themselves, and also mesh with brand-new coordinators, Charlie Weiss Jr. on offense and Chris Partridge on defense. It's all brand new. I mean, you nailed it, Drew. I mean, what Lane Kiffin has done with a program that not only had all new players, they had all new coaching staff. Now, this schedule has been pretty good for Ole Miss. Let's not mince words here. It's been pretty easy. But you still have to win the games you play. I mean, ask Kentucky about it when they played Vanderbilt last week. I mean,
yes.
So you have to win the games before you. But it was a complete overhaul for Lane Kiffin, and he has just matured incredibly over the last couple of years as a head coach at Ole Miss. I think he's done a phenomenal job. And I think he'll do a great job at Auburn. The question is does he take the job, Drew? And I just don't know right now. I really don't.
Well, I mean, and I don't think, and you brought it up too, we talked about the recruiting aspect, but I don't think he gets enough credit for having to totally rebuild his coaching staff, because DJ Durkin left to go to College Station. As Lane said earlier this year, just a few weeks ago, he's like, before they went down to A&M and whipped them, that we got outbid with Durkin. So he had to hire a new defensive staff. He had to elevate Chris Partridge and hold on to him. Certainly he had to bring in Charlie Weiss Jr. When Jeff Lebby went to Oklahoma. So he's been able to completely revamp his coaching staff and keep them playing at a very high level. So he deserves credit for that too, no doubt about it. But it's going to be really interesting to see if Ole Miss fans, their temperament and what Lane ultimately does. What is his end game with this process? I still think he's going to stay at Ole Miss. That's my opinion. But certainly I think ultimately, do I think he'll leave Ole Miss in the future? Yes, I do. But I just think when you talk about timing, and if Lane can continue to win at this level at Ole Miss, which I don't think is out of the question if you win. I mean, if Lane Kiffin can average 9 wins a year at Ole Miss, he's going to be a king there. Eventually he'd get an NFL opportunity, potentially maybe a job like Alabama we would see. I don't know. But certainly I'll just say this. Every high-profile opening with Lane Kiffin would be he would be near the top of the list, because he has quickly resuscitated his career. And, I think we talked about it on your podcast, and we talked about it with David Johnson as well, your colleague. He's basically become Elvis Presley in Mississippi. He's become one of the most high-profile coaches in college football.
He has, and it's interesting that this also has Deion Sanders, and I think Deion. Well, I don't think Deion gets the Auburn job. Deion's got a great future in college football. I mean, he's doing things the right way down at Jackson State. He's surrounding himself with really good recruiters and also really good analysts and coordinators. And so I think Deion's got a bright future, as does Lane Kiffin. And I'm going to be honest with you, Drew. I mean, we haven't talked about Hugh Freeze, but I thought with the press conference, but mainly the interview at the end of the game when Liberty beat Arkansas,
yes.
I thought that was a watershed moment in Hugh's career because of all the stuff that he kind of went through in Oxford, and I felt like it was kind of a bit of a resurgence there for him. And I think Hugh's going to do big things down the road as well. Hugh's a really good football coach, and I'm interested to see where he goes. Now, they fell last week to UConn, and part of me thinks that maybe they had their minds in other places while they lost that game. But needless to say, Hugh Freeze is definitely someone to watch. That we've also seen a bit of a resurgence in his career, just like we've seen Lane. Not so much from a mature level, an immaturity level, not so much there, but just how he handles media, how he handles pretty much his coaching staff and a football program as a whole. We're seeing them both kind of advance forward, and I think two of the hotter coaches in college football, to say the least, on top of what Deion is doing down in Jackson. He's a hot commodity as well.
He really is. Well, we've been talking to Brad Logan. He's been our guest. Again, he contributes to Inside the Rebels 24/7 Sports with our good friend David Johnson. He's part of the Logan Media Network Believe in Ole Miss podcast. I was a part of that last week. It was an honor, and that's part of the Believe Network. And, of course, he's also part of WJTV Sports, a CBS affiliate in Jackson, Mississippi. Brad, we really appreciate the time, man. Continue up the great work, and we appreciate you coming on this morning on our Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio and talking a little Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Thanks, man.
Anytime, Drew. I'm a big fan, and you know that, and I appreciate what all you guys do for the game of college sports there in North Alabama. Anytime you need anything, you give me a call, and thanks for everything you do for the sport as well.
Thank you, Brad. We appreciate that. We're going to go on a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up this Wednesday edition of the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. I'm D Squared. Drew DeArmond, stay with us.
The Blitz has been called.
It's the geometry teacher who mans the ticket window.
It's the kid in grade school who paints her face blue and white before every home game.
It's the accountants and salesmen and store managers who give up their Friday evenings to referee.
It's the graduate who listens to the league championship game on the internet.
It's the parent who sells ads in the school athletic program.
It's the cashier at the corner convenience store who wears school colors on every game day.
It's the trainers, equipment managers, and ball boys who never miss a practice.
What makes high school sports here in Alabama so special? They do.
You do.
We all do.
High school sports. It's the we that every community needs. This message presented by the Alabama High School Athletic Association and the Alabama High School Athletic Directors and Coaches Association.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You're bringing your daughter to her favorite pop star's concert. Do you A, wear earplugs?
Isn't this fun, Dad?
I'll have a soft pretzel.
B, remember the moment with matching concert t-shirts.
That's gonna be $180.
Or we can just take a photo.
C, show her how you used to do concerts.
We're going crowd surfing.
I can't. It's too heavy. Oh my God. Ah.
Or D, just roll with it.
Woo! Justin! Look at us, we're over here!
Justin! OMG! He just looked. I love you, Justin! I love you!
When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers. But that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
The tech show's on this month. You know, I was thinking of looking at home security systems.
Oh, cool. I'll go with you. We're looking for more home security ideas, too. That's why I called Budget Blinds.
Budget Blinds?
Look at this.
A remote for the blinds.
Yep, motorized.
Okay, well, that's beyond cool. I love it. But what does it have to do with home security?
Oh, they also come with a timer. The blinds and drapes open themselves in the morning, close in the evening.
Oh, so it looks like somebody's home even when you're not.
Exactly, and I saved a bunch of money. Sally saved a bunch of money.
Ha, but you'll take the credit.
Yeah.
My brother, the tech genius.
Thanks, man.
Now give me that remote.
Budget Blinds motorized window coverings are the ultimate in luxury, and during the Luxury Within Reach event, they're even more affordable. The more you buy, the more you save with savings up to $2,000. Hurry and call 855-BUDGET-BLINDS now before this offer ends, or go online to budgetblinds.com. Don't miss out. Call 855-BUDGET-BLINDS now. Offer good on select products at participating independently owned and operated franchises. Restrictions may apply. Ask for details.
How long does it take to get to the forest?
That's not far.
What are we gonna do? Hike?
Sure.
Are we there yet?
Yep, it's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org, brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
This hour of the Blitz is brought to you by Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Online at FlemingHSV.com.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Recruiting Blitz on Blitz Sports Radio. I'm B Squared, Rudy Armand. We've got a few minutes left. If you want to join us, 256-576-4977 to talk some recruiting. We want to thank Brad Logan. Much respect for him coming on and giving us an update. It really seems like it's up in the air right now with Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss for Auburn. It could potentially happen. It looks like Auburn is targeting Lane Kiffin as the top candidate. My gut still tells me that Lane is not going to go to Auburn. And then again, there's going to be a lot of flips probably in recruiting down the stretch with NIL. I know there's been some grinding of the teeth with Alabama fans, with Justice Haynes from Buford High School. Just read an interview with him with Chad Simmons, who's the director of recruiting for On3Sports.com. Seems very solid to Alabama, but we'll see. We know things like that can change quickly. Certainly Caleb Downs from Mill Creek, the number one safety in the country. Ohio State and Georgia are not going to stop recruiting those two young men. But I know Nick Saban and Alabama trying to hold on to them. Alabama trying to finish out the regular season strong after that road win in Oxford. They've got Austin Peay coming up at 11 a.m. on Saturday. And then after that, they will be the Iron Bowl will be the annual clash. 2:30 on CBS. Auburn could be potentially playing for a bowl bid if they can beat Western Kentucky. 3 o'clock kickoff inside Jordan-Hare Stadium on this Saturday. So there could still be some things at stake. Alabama could make coaching changes, and I think they will. I think there is going to be a Bill O'Brien departure for either a head coaching job or back to the NFL, potentially as an OC. Back to I think he's more comfortable in the National Football League unless it's a perfect opportunity as a college head coach. And then Pete Golding, we'll see, is he going to return for a sixth season at the helm of the Alabama defense? And so it's going to be interesting to follow Alabama. Personally, I think they need to bring Sal Sunseri back on the field to put him at the helm of the outside linebacker room. I think there needs to be a change at defensive line coach. I don't think Alabama's defensive line is being developed and or recruited at a high enough level. But again, Georgia and Ohio State have still got a lot of irons in the fire. They could still catch Alabama for that number one overall recruiting class. So we'll see. There was a crystal ball put in by Steve Wiltfong for David Hobbs to go to Tennessee. That would be a big get along the D-line for Josh Heupel and his staff. And these are all recruiting storylines we're going to continue to follow. But we appreciate you for joining us today. Thanks to Brad Logan. And again, kudos to Will Acuff, first win with Lenny Acuff in the stands there. Awesome buzzer beater over Madison County. Good job by the Huntsville Crimson Panthers last night as well. The men moving to 4-0, but we appreciate everybody for joining us. Don't forget to download our app, our Blitz Sports Radio app, our 97.7 The Zone app, and don't forget the afternoon Blitz later today with the Bandyman Bailey Lowry and Captain Cool John Abraham. I'm D Squared Rudy Armand. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., everybody.
This is Wes Neighbors with Phillip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. Still a place to call for your installation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on two services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatedwitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
This is Wes Neighbors with Philip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. Still a place to call for your installation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on two services you need at the same time, and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatedwitheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.